our final speaker in this session is Ken O'Flynn, independent TD for Cork North Central and former Lord Mayor of Cork, with many years of experience in local and national political service, or public service, beg your pardon. So Ken, welcome. Thank
you so much. I recently gave a speech in a room similar to the size of this, actually, to a group, and my speech was 37 pages long. Now, I thought I was doing a brilliant job, I have to say, but I received a note halfway through the speech, by page maybe 16, 17, and I thought, this is obviously an early congratulations of my speech, and rapidly opened the note that said, listening to you from the back of the room, wish you were here. So, I'll try to be a little bit more brief today. Ladies, and I say that word deliberately, proudly, and without apology, thank you for having me here today. Gentlemen, you are blessed amongst women. I would like to thank the adult human female who organised this conference, who, for all of us, and for each and every one of you who gave up your Saturday to attend this conference. Showing up in Ireland has become a real issue. It shows courage that you have showed up here today. And I want to recognise that courage. And I want to say to you, I respect that courage. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Ken O'Flynn, TD, elected for Cork North Central for Independent Ireland, Chairman of Independent Ireland. I'd like to also acknowledge our Councillor, Linda de Courcy, in the room here, a great champion for women's rights and human rights. Could I just say to you, I'm the TD who asked Helen McEntee, what is a woman? I want to speak to you plainly here today about the state of political debate in Ireland, particularly when it comes to sex and gender. Because the truth is, there is a deafening silence in the National Parliament. There is legitimate concerns by you, the women of Ireland, many Irish women who feel that their rights are being eroded on sex-based rights. And yet, that's a starting point that should not be in any way sound or look or be conservative. Across every civilization, every culture, and for centuries, the records of human history, the records of humanity throughout the millennium, has understood one basic biological fact. There are two sexes, a man and a woman. There is a mother and there is a father. That is not ideology. That is not prejudiced. It is not bigotry. It is biological reality, biological fact. It is also the foundation of many of the laws that protect women and that women rely upon. Every day, in everyday life, separate spaces in our prisons, women's refuge centres, hospital wards, fair competition in sports, and privacy and dignity in changing rooms. These exist because of biological sex matters, quite simply. Yet, under the Ireland Gender Recognition Act of 2015, a man over the age of 18 can legally declare himself a woman through a statutory declaration. No medical assessment, no physical or psychological evaluation, no requirements besides a signed document. The state then issues a new birth certificate and treats that declaration as a legal fact. The legal fiction carries consequences. It carries those consequences into women's sports, into women's prisons, into their healthcare setting, into spaces that exist solely for the purpose of protecting women and are totally based on biological sex matters. Now, I know the labels that some people will attach to those that raise the questions about this. I've seen it myself. I've seen the finger wag in Leinster House. I've seen the eyes roll of a certain deputy carpenter. And I've heard the lies inside in Leinster House. But repeated slogans doesn't change bigotry. And repeated slogans certainly do not change biology. And lately, I've been thinking, I'm going back through years of reading books and things that I'd learnt and that I had forgotten. And something came to mind. It was an essay about official fictions. And I remember reading this maybe 20, 30 years ago. That'll tell you how old I am. But it was by the Czech dissident, Václav Havel. He wrote an extraordinary essay back in 1978 called The Power of the Powerless. And if you haven't read it, I would recommend that you dig it out and see if you can get a copy and read it. It asks about, or it tells us the story about the greengrocer who places a sign in his shop window and it reads, "Workers of the world, unite." Now, does he believe the slogan? Probably not. He displays it because he is expected to display it. Because everyone else does. His neighbours display it. The shop next door displays it. The people that supply him, they display it. Because refusing to display that sign puts your head above the parapet and makes life a little bit more difficult for you. But at this moment, people have stopped. But from the moment that people stop performing the lie and stop engaging in the lie, the system begins to weaken. And that's what Havel calls living its truth. Havel's insight into the system depends on the greengrocer, not the party bosses, not the secret police, not the true believers, but it depends on the average citizen, the one that goes along with it, who says the right words, who uses the approved language, who keeps his head down and keeps the sign in the window. The system only functions, or the lie only functions, because millions of ordinary people in small daily acts choose to perform the lie rather than speak the truth, the living truth. Ladies and gentlemen, does that sound familiar to you? I believe that this lesson matters today. Across Ireland, people are privately recognising the reality of biological sex. They feel pressured not to repeat the slogan that denies it. They worry about their professional consequences. Those in the medical, those that studied medicine, those that studied biology, they're worried. They're worried to say, God, if I tell the truth here, I might get into trouble. Somebody mightn't like if I tell the truth. Somebody might damage my career. Somebody might stop me from proceeding up the ladder if I say, hold on a second, the emperor has no clothes. And for those professionals, they risk the damage of reputational consequences. So what do? They remain silent. But silence does not resolve the issue. Silence only postpones this debate. Across Europe, we're seeing, and the wider world, we've already seen governments and courts reversing and questioning these situations. Public debate is beginning to return. Legal clarity is beginning to be restored. We've seen that in the United Kingdom. And Ireland will eventually have to have the same conversation. It can do it two ways. It can come to the table now, or it can come kicking and screaming. But it will have to have the conversation. And when it does have that conversation, it must be framed without hostility towards anyone. Adults are free to live their lives, and everyone is free to live their life as they choose. But the public policy must recognise the biological reality, particularly when it comes to safety, when it comes to dignity, and the rights where women are concerned. Because this ultimately is not an abstract ideological debate. It concerns that women seeking refuge in a refugee, or sorry, excuse me. It concerns women seeking refuge from domestic violence. It concerns girls competing in sports. It concerns those that are asking for privacy in their hospital ward. These are real women living real lives with legitimate concerns that deserve to be heard in what we have as a democratic state. So let me conclude with this. As a TD in Leinster House, and my party is Independent Ireland, I will continue to raise the questions in Leinster House. I will continue to argue that biological sex matters and that in the law and in public policy. And I will continue to defend the principles and the rights and dignity of women who must be treated not as a negotiation. Law, to my mind, works best than recognition of reality, when it's recognized in reality rather than attempted to redefine it. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to briefly touch on something else that has come to my attention in the last couple of days, and I don't think it was mentioned here, but I want to bring to your attention that I formally wrote to the board of Zoological Society of Ireland. And I've had a huge outcry of many families and women asking the genuine question, what has Mother's Day to do with a man in a dress with a beard? And I have to say I'm disappointed with Dublin Zoos doubling down on that. I don't think it's a bit of fun. I think women, mothers, people who are cared for children, who have acted and taken on the role of mother, need to be respected in this country and never be seen as a bit of fun.